I'm Demian Reis. I'm doing a PhD research in clownery, and I'm going to interview now Jon Davison. Right. Jon, how do you define clowning?
Well, I have lots of definitions of clowning. Depends. I was going to say depends on the day of the week. It's not quite like that, but I do go through a few, and the latest one has been inspired a bit by this book I've mentioned to you before, called No Kidding by I can't remember the first name, McManus. And I love his introduction, his description of what clowning does, because it manages to cover all the ground, to incorporate all those that see clowning as political, all those that see clowning as apolitical. I think it serves for a lot of purposes, because often I find definitions of clowning are basically defining what one or a group of people see as their own particular clowning. So mine is, I like his, it's about disruption or contradicting context. So this, whatever context you find, whatever moment you find yourself in, it's about contradicting it or being contrary with that. So I like that because it's about the moment. It's not, so that can easily lend itself to politics, to politics which are about challenging the status quo, or it cannot. It depends who you're with.
Okay.
So I like this one, disruption.
And contradiction.
In the context, disruption, contradiction of the context, because it also relates to me, as I recognise that's a big drive in me to just say the opposite of anything. If you say, oh, I believe in this, I'll say, well, I believe in that. It's annoying for some people. Okay.
What are you looking for with the clowning tools you chose? I'm mentioning specifically, I'm referring specifically to dancing, jumping, laughing, and chasing. Obviously, with all the conditions and further instructions and the way you appropriate these tools. What are you... okay. How long have you been teaching clowning?
Okay, let me have a clear answer to that. I started teaching when, pretty soon after I started performing, more or less at the same time. So as a student, when I was doing straight theatre, I started like in 1982 to perform, and yeah, by 1986 I think, yeah, we were already kind of doing workshops in schools, which tended to be a mixture of, well, the kind of things I was into at the time: clowning, Brecht, a bit of Shakespeare work. So I suppose that's my first teaching experiences. But perhaps only seriously started doing it more or less when I went to study at full-time circus school in Bristol in 1989, and I was on various courses there for a year, and then we set up a group. Originally it was to perform musical clowning. There was about 13 of us, and then the group got reduced over a few weeks to about 6. And then we just started training, and that's when I really started. I did a lot of the exercises, yeah. And at the same time I started training, directing, I don't know what you call it. A colleague of mine, she's a singer, Jo Davison, and she wanted to work on an improvised singing show. So I started kind of teaching teaching and learning how to direct her in improvisation and that's the same time, so yeah. And then, so yeah, that's like 1990s.
Okay, until now.
Until now, yes.
So that's almost 20 years.
Let's say almost getting on for 20 years. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think clownery and clowning can be a useful tool to relate to the clown's field of art and research?
How do you mean?
Well, one day you mentioned to me, oh, clownery, it's an interesting way to...
I see, yeah. Right,
so
to research, yes.
To research, yeah. So it's like, what I want to find out of you is how can it be appropriate and interesting to use clownery and clowning as to think about research and the clown art?
Well, this is something quite new for me, so I only have some kind of intuitive guesses here. But it dates back from a couple of years ago when I can think of 3 particular students that we had either coming to or talking about coming to study at the Clown School in Barcelona. And these 3, I think there may have been more, but the 3 I remember at the moment, all had particular disciplines. One was a marine biologist, one was a biologist, and one was an anthropologist. And it wasn't that they wanted to stop being those things and be clowns, but their interest in training clowning was to find the links between them, and not in the sense of being one was a biology teacher, school kids, not that he wanted to be a funny teacher. But he saw that, he didn't know either how, but he saw that there must be some way, he knew there was some way, that clown logic, clown thinking, clown philosophies, the clown vision, could be the same, could inform teaching and the teaching.
So we're back to the question about the usefulness or not of clownery and clowning.
In research.
In research.
Yeah. So having had that intuition about that it could influence the way we think in other fields of thought, I'm finding slowly now that in my research work that the methodology is being influenced, not just what I'm researching, but the methodology is becoming more and more clown-like. So for example, and not only that this is not unique to clown, it is already part of some ways of thinking, scientific thinking or investigating. I'm not sure what they are. Perhaps someone who's more experienced in research and ways of methods of analysis could tell us, oh yes, that's that kind of thinking. For example, okay, so I'm not sure about all these other kind of things that are attached to clowning, like mask work and play and so on. So, hey, let's just get rid of them all and see what happens. That's not a strictly clowning thing, but it's easy for a clown to say, hey, well, let's forget everything we know, why not? It is very easy for clown, I think, for us to do things like that. Because we do tend to, we work on kind of, I think the word in English now, desapego, like, separate, letting go of things. It's all a game anyway. So, but one of the things I'm thinking particularly now is whether, again, being contrary behaviour as a method of thought and research. So you're confronted with something that exists, and you go, okay, so what happens if we say the opposite? That's simply that. I mean, that's where I am. So I think there's a longer road ahead of me on this, but at the moment, yeah.
Okay.